Hey YouTube, I've got a treat for you today. Now, I know most of you don't give a shit about any of the programming videos that I've been posting lately. You probably should, because programming is the literacy of the 21st century, right? Like, you don't necessarily read and write every day, but it's damn handy to be able to do that when you need to. And the same is with programming. Like, it's not just for programmers, and that's what the video series is all about. But I know that a lot of you really don't care. And to keep all of the many people who have already subscribed to me specifically for Let's Play videos happy, I'm going to try to really up my game on these, and I'm doing that today with EG Pulse, which comes out today. This is a drum machine that you can put into any AUv3 host, and it is quite feature-rich. It's got the 16 pads where you can play into, or there's a nice grid, a mixer with effects and automation, and even a song mode. So before we get into any of that, though, I want to show off the sounds in here, because that is particularly impressive. Right now you're listening to the trap kit inside of the Electronic Beats bank, and here are the banks, here are the kits, there's a bunch. And I like the way that you can mix and match in here. So like, here's the classic 808, which sounds good, but I really dislike the hats on the 808. So I'm going to change those. And tap on the folder for the 03 closed hat.wave and pick a different kit. I like these vinyl kits. And before I forget to mention it, there is a choke, so you can make sure that the hats are choking each other and you're only playing one at a time, which is a really important feature some drum machines mix. But back to what we got here, right? We can just mix and match things. Like, let's replace the cymbal with a tambourine. Now, we could just start drawing that in here, but I'm going to put that in a different pattern. You notice that it's coming in on 16ths. You can change the quantization by tapping on the snap. All right. So now I could show you one of my favorite features in this, which is the fill mode. If you hold down fill and tap on any of the other numbers, it'll go through and play whatever it is that you tapped on once, like that. So you just bring in any of the patterns for just one quick bar, something different, and then it goes back to the original pattern that you had selected, which is indicated by red. But there's also this autofill. So you can say every 4 bars, give me whatever I've selected in yellow. So now it's going to play through 1, and now it's going into this fill, and now it goes back to 1, and it's just kind of running through its thing. I really like that you're able to set that sort of autofill very deliberately, setting the duration and things like that. Like, that's very handy. There's also this roll feature, which is common on hardware drum machines. It's less common on software ones, where I can... All right, here, let me turn this off so you can hear what I'm doing. Here, it's rolling through that. We can set the quantization for this, like that right now. That was at 64ths. Let's hear what 30-second notes are. That's a little bit more reasonable. Or even 16ths. And as you see, you can do multiples. So that is really handy. Moving on from there, you saw briefly, we've got this grid. We've also got an automation that we can use on our grids. Actually, maybe I want to show you this in a different kit, because there really are a lot of kits that I want to emphasize in here. There's a lot from Sound of Israel, which is he's a big member of the community. He does lots of YouTube videos. I really liked quite a few of these. I think this one was my favorite. Like, it's just such a great classic sound. And you see my fill is still selected. This is, I think, a bug here. If I change that off, right? Like, it should no longer be doing it because I've set the autofill to off, but I've still got a yellow thing here, which is just a visual bug. It will not play that fill again. But I actually do like the way that fill was sounding, so I'm putting that back in. You see how that really is a very smooth kind of workflow here, where I'm doing the usual pattern changing, but I'm also able to throw in, let's just do a random fill every 4 bars, whatever. I really like that. Let me show you another kit. The acoustic kits I found were kind of iffy. Like, a lot of this I like, but unfortunately the parts that I don't like I can swap out. Yeah, I take back that iffy. I really like this one. Like, this just... Okay. And for this rock one, it's actually really nice. Oh, shit. Was it 3 that was... Here, hold on a second. Okay, those 2 patterns meshed poorly when I was doing that fill, but... There's also some here from soundtrack loops, but I noticed all of these are a lot louder than all the others, so I might have to edit this later. Like, it's worth any editing that I'm gonna have to do on this now, because these are really good, epic sounding kits. And if we look at the effects on these, you see that it's not anything that we've added programmatically yet. We could add even more reverb on that kick. Was the kick? Oh. What was the big loud slammy thing? Was it that? Okay, that's it. CL big clap. Let's look at that now in here. You see that none of the effects have been mixed in, so if we add that now. We're making it even bigger. There's also a delay, which is going to sound terrible with this, so I'm not going to do that. Let me try delaying the snare. Pull it up a bit. Yeah, I have not been liking the delay very much. The thing that I absolutely dislike the most about this app, though, is the way that this EQ is set up. So you've got the frequency and the resonance in the same way that everything uses it, right? Frequency is your X, and resonance is your Y axis on this XY controller. But most of the other things that will show you this sort of layout will give you lots of frequency. Like, usually the frequency will be the longest one. And there's a reason for that, because right now, trying to fine tune on anything is kind of a pain in the ass. This is kind of quiet. Let me find something else. All right, here, let's use this. I'm trying to move my finger so slow to get at some of those low ends. It's usable, it irks me. Like, I feel like the Q should definitely be the smaller range for your resolution, your finger resolution. But I think that's my only complaint. I mean, there was the visual bug with the autofill, but since it's AUv3, you don't have to use any of those. You can just start using other effects. I haven't actually tested whether or not that's it's sending discrete channels. You could, like, say, only do an effect on channel 1 or whatever. But there are other options besides using the built-in effects. Let's see if there's anything else I want to show you before I move on. So this is the next day. I was in the middle of editing when I realized that my favorite part, the whole end of this video, did not record correctly with the iOS screen recorder. I was saving the best for last, which is the probability, which is just a great feature for any drum machine. So let me try this again. I'll show you. I'm in the grid. I've got just kind of a basic thing here. It's kind of a breakdown. I'll add in some kicks. But these snares, I want to be probability based. So I do that by going into the mixer, mixer/auto, and I'm in the automation. See, we've got mixer and then auto, and if I turn on probability, I can now screw around with these by just dragging it down, and you see at the top it's saying the percentage. So we bring these both down to about 50%. So that's a good example. It's not coming in all the time, but you know, every once in a while you're getting that punch, which is nice. Now there's a few ways to add notes here. Like, I strongly recommend you stick to the grid because you can set your specific quantization and say that I want a 16th note here. And it seems to have applied some amount of automation to that. You can tailor it. The other way to do this is if you double tap on any of these, it'll get rid of it. But you can also double tap to add one back in. But I think I've screwed up. Yeah, I'm certain I've screwed up where that is. You see how that's just 1/64th off to the right here, and I can't interact with that on the grid here. If I tap, like I'm tapping on that thing, but it won't let me do that because I'm stuck in the 1/16th. So I've got to go to 1/64th. Now I can get rid of that. Now I got to go back to 1/16th to make sure I don't do that again. And now I can add it back in. So I strongly recommend that you, if you're adding notes, use the grid. I hope that this has been informative. I fucking hope so much that this actually recorded correctly. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. So thank you very much to all my Patreon patrons for making these videos possible. Take it easy, folks.